Hello, I'm Henry Keane and UATV English is online, giving you the Ukrainian perspective of reality. Watch in the episode. Putin vows to retaliate and Trump blesses such an approach. Russians wanted to attack Kiev when things went completely south for them. Ukrainian intelligence hacks Russian strategic secrets. By watching the episode, you really help Ukraine to fight off Russian aggression. Please comment and subscribe to our channel while watching this episode, as it helps the voice of Ukraine to be heard worldwide. Welcome to the News Pulse. Russia continues being Russia, attacking on Ukraine. The regional administration now in Kherson has been devastated completely by a glide bomb, and they boldly display this footage on the net afterwards. The attack was carried out by glide bombs, and on educational and medical facilities in the city were also damaged. To bomb hospitals and schools was a truly Russian way to retaliate for losses in the high-tech combat.
This is how the center of Kherson looks like. At 6:30 a.m., the Russian army dropped 4 air bombs in just a few minutes on the city center. The buildings of the regional administration are completely destroyed. The nearest houses were also damaged. At the moment, it is known who was injured. The strike was combined. The attack was combined. After the airstrike, the Russian troops began to shoot tanks and artillery. Later, the FPV drones were flying in the sky. This, unfortunately, is not a rarity for the city centre. It has long ceased to be safe.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has condemned, of course, Russia's latest overnight assault on civilians, stressing that the only path to ending the war lies in exerting maximum pressure and strength against the aggressor state. In a statement published on Telegram on June 5th, Zelensky said Russia consistently tries to buy time to continue killing Ukrainians, and does so actually without facing strong enough international condemnation.
We must not allow Russia to blur reality or mislead the world. Moscow must be forced into diplomacy. We need ceasefire. We need real peace. We need real security, and we must use every method available to achieve this. Our frontline and our defense, our production and technology, our work to build a real security architecture. And we must be effective in all of it, I'm sure.
And as the continuation of thoughts of the urgency of Zelensky's words, a devastating Russian drone strike on the town of Pryluki in Chernihiv Oblast has claimed 5 lives, injuring 8 more. Amongst the victims were the wife, the daughter and 1-year-old grandson of the local fire station's chief. The family was inside their private house when it was struck by a Shahid-type assault drone. At the time of the strike, the firefighter was away, responding to emergencies caused by other attacks in the region, and then he was forced to return to his own place to take out the fire in his own house.
5 dead and 8 wounded. At night, the Russian army used a UAV to attack Pryluki in the Chernihiv region. A 1-year-old child was among the dead. It is known that the Russians used at least 6 drones, destroying 2 residential buildings. From the publication of National Police of Ukraine.
During his last telephone pilgrimage to the Kremlin, Donald Trump did 2 important things. First, he cancelled American spare parts for Ukrainian drone delivery in particular, and then he legitimized Putin's terror in general by blessing future killings of Ukrainians. In Donald Trump's head reigns a poor, ill, twisted logic where absurd becomes truth, and then truth social.
We discussed the attack on Russia's docked airplanes by Ukraine, and also various other attacks that have been taking place by both sides. It was a good conversation, but not a conversation that will lead to immediate peace. President Putin did say, and very strongly, that he will have to respond to the recent attack on the airfields. President of the United States Donald Trump.
Putin said it strongly, very strongly, exactly the way Trump understands. Trump's conversation with Russian dictator is an indulgence no less for Putin. Putin said now he will have to kill as many Ukrainians as he wishes, as he needs to retaliate for recent shame brought onto his ill-Soviet majesty by Ukrainian drone strike that completely wiped out half of Russian strategic bomber fleet. You only listen to this. To retaliate on Ukrainians for daring to hit him back for the war that Putin has started on his own. After Bucha, after Sumy, after killing our Ukrainian children with cluster bombs, we dared to burn the same very aircraft that did that. And now strongly, very strongly, Putin is just forced to kill more Ukrainians than he already did in 3 years. And Trump does not even say, just stop already, Vladimir, you bloodthirsty Soviet maniac. No, nothing even close. Trump acknowledges Putin's right for further terror. Trump listens and obeys to Putin as a good loyal subordinates do. And as good subordinate, Trump does a bit more even of what has been demanded just to demonstrate allegiance. Trump bans American spare parts delivery to Ukraine. Well, let me put it straight for you. What Trump is trying to do is to shift the point of no return of this war from where it started to that recent Ukrainian drone strike. And it's a crime. This war started in 2014 by Russia annexing Crimea in the first place. Then came the invasion of February 2022. And all this time, Ukraine has been asking, even begging America for defense. I stress out, defense weapons. And we had barely anything and way too slow to defend ourselves. And now Trump talks to a killer murderer indicted by International Criminal Court for abducting our children and literally approves more killings and more abduction and bans drone spare parts delivery. And of course, after such a glorious conversation, dictator Putin feels encouraged to seek another holy blessing.
During a conversation, Pope Leo made reference to Patriarch Kirill, thanking him for the congratulations received at the beginning of his pontificate, and underlined how shared Christian values can be a light that helps to seek peace, defend life, and pursue genuine religious freedom. Matteo Bruni, Director of the Holy See Press Office.
Patriarch Kirill, right. Well, here is him. Here is His Holiness Patriarch Kirill, a Russian mobster, a thief and a murderer in a Christian disguise. As usual, Vladimir Gundyaev is his name, and he is on board his luxurious boat demonstrating true Christian values that are shared with Vatican on their mutual path to peace and genuine religious freedom. I'm sure that a lot of effort the Holy See indeed invests to not see things as they really are.
Facts are stubborn things. Since the beginning of this year, the Russian army has carried out attacks against Ukraine using nearly 27,700 aerial bombs, almost 11,200 Shahed drones, around 9,000 other types of attack UAVs, and more than 700 missiles, including ballistic ones. And that's in less than half a year. This is the pace of Russian strikes, and they deliberately set this tempo from the very first days of the full-scale war. Russia has restructured its entire state, society, and economy to be able to kill people in other countries on a massive scale and with impunity. Volodymyr Zelensky, president of Ukraine, on X social network.
But maybe Donald Trump just wants a good thing. For Iran not to have nuclear weapons. And this is why he throws Ukrainians under the Putin's bus. Well, maybe, as Trump openly admitted that US can't resolve its Iran strategy without Russia's help, raising serious doubts. Why would Putin even want to cooperate with Washington after all these threats of nuclear annihilation? But who cares about nuclear annihilation when you are 78 years old genius president of states that were supposed to be united? Units of the armed forces of Ukraine, in coordination with the Security Service of Ukraine and other components of the defense forces, carried out a precision missile strike on a concentration of Russian missile troops. The 26th Missile Brigade of the Russian military, based in Russia's Bryansk region, was preparing to launch an attack on Ukraine, most likely targeting Kyiv. Then things went south for them. Thanks to effective intelligence and the coordinated efforts of the armed forces and the security service of Ukraine, the targets were successfully eliminated. One Russian missile launcher detonated and two others were likely damaged. The Ministry of Defense of Ukraine announced that the armed forces will begin using the new domestically produced unmanned aerial system, Chief 1. This drone is designed to neutralize enemy airborne targets or ground personnel using a modular system that fires cartridges loaded with buckshot.
Chief 1 features a lightweight yet durable frame, powerful engines, high maneuverability, and a design optimized for aerial combat. The drones are equipped with automatic target recognition systems and are capable of determining the optimal distance for engagement. They can fire in both manual and automatic modes. Chief 1 is effective against enemy FPV drones, bombers, and certain types of spotter and reconnaissance (UAVs). From the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine website.
Ukrainian forces may receive the first domestically produced long-range weapons funded by the German government within the next few weeks already. This was announced by German Defense Minister Boris Pistorius during a briefing ahead of the Ukraine Defense Contact Group meeting in Brussels. According to Pistorius, this marks a new phase of cooperation between Kyiv and Berlin, in which weapons production will take place directly in Ukraine, supported by German investment. This approach enables not only faster production, but also significantly strengthens Ukraine's defense capabilities in the short term.
We have begun implementing our strategic plan, direct investment in Ukraine's defense industry. On-site production capacity allows for the manufacturing of substantial volumes of long-range weapons as early as this year, Boris Pistorius, German Defense Minister.
The first systems, he noted, could be delivered to the armed forces of Ukraine in the coming weeks. Pistorius also recalled that during a recent visit to Berlin by Ukrainian Defense Minister Rustem Umerov, both sides agreed to continue military support. This includes air defense systems, additional weapons and ammunition, funding for repair infrastructure and cooperation in satellite communications. Well, thank you, Germany. Now to IT news of sorts. Hacker team of Ukraine's defense intelligence breached the systems of Russia's Tupolev Design Bureau, gaining over 4.5 gigabytes of sensitive data related to the country's strategic aviation manufacturer. Ukraine's intelligence cyber unit monitored the bureau's internal documents over time and ultimately accessed critical information, including executive correspondence, personal data of employees, even home addresses, engineers' resumes, procurement records, and minutes from closed meetings. Tupolev Bureau has been under international sanctions since 2022 for its direct role in Russia's war against Ukraine. The company manufactures and maintains strategic bombers used in strikes on Ukrainian cities.
Now, essentially nothing about Tupolev's operations remains secret to Ukrainian intelligence. We have full data on those involved in servicing Russia's strategic aviation. The impact will be felt both on the ground and in the skies. Spokesperson of the Defense Intelligence of Ukraine. In a comment to Union.
The spiderweb operation. Here are some newly emerged details brought to you by UATV English.
Over the past 5 days, Ukrainian special services have struck two of Russia's most vulnerable points, its air bases and the Kerch Bridge. This is Ukraine's third strike on the bridge. The operation was months in the making. Agents from Ukraine's security service planted explosives on the bridge's support structures. The bridge, illegally built by Russia in temporarily occupied Crimea, has now suffered serious damage to its underwater supports, leaving the structure in critical condition.
God loves the Trinity, and the SSU always sees its plans through and never repeats itself. We struck the Crimean Bridge twice before, in 2022 and 2023. So today, we continued that tradition, this time underwater. There is no place for any illegal Russian structures on the territory of our state. That makes the Crimean Bridge a completely legitimate target, especially considering the enemy used it as a logistical artery to supply its troops. Crimea is Ukraine, and any form of occupation will be met with our firm response. Basil Malyuk, head of Ukraine's security service, from a statement on the SSU website.
Operation Spiderweb was carried out on June 1st. The SSU simultaneously struck 4 of Russia's strategic air bases. A total of 41 bombers were hit, aircraft Russia had used in attacks on Ukrainian cities. As a result, 34% of Russia's strategic aviation fleet was put out of commission. Independent investigations by Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty confirmed the complete destruction of at least 11 Russian strategic bombers. Journalists analyzed video footage and satellite imagery. At the Belaya Air Base in the Irkutsk region alone, they verified the destruction of 4 Tu-22s and 3 Tu-95s. One more Tu-95 is likely damaged. According to the SBU, Russia's Tu-160 and Tu-95 bombers are the primary carriers of nuclear weapons, including long-range systems.
As far as we know, the Russian Federation has no capability to restore these aircraft. Even the Russian side admits that they lack the technology and capacity to produce new, large planes. These are aircraft from the 1960s and 70s, from the last century, the last millennium. They simply cannot be restored.
Sources from the SSU shared exclusive footage with Freedom TV showing preparations for the Spiderweb operation. The video shows a truck loaded with drone-equipped modular cabins heading out to deliver a devastating blow to Russian strategic aviation. The operation was in planning for over 18 months and was personally overseen by President Volodymyr Zelensky.
Russia has fired thousands of missiles and attack drones at Ukraine, including with its strategic air force. Ukraine never wanted this war, but we have every right to defend ourselves, our independence, and our people. That's exactly what we're doing, using every means available to us. International law, the UN Charter, and basic human reason all guarantee this right to Ukraine.
This drone-based operation has not only shaken Russia, but also transformed modern warfare. FPV drones, costing as little as $400, have proven remarkably effective at targeting armoured vehicles, ammunition depots, and command posts. Western media report that Ukraine is now a global leader in developing drones capable of destroying enemy military equipment and infrastructure. Military commanders around the world are taking note.
Taiwan is investing in mass-produced drones in anticipation of a possible conflict with China. Israel has recalibrated the Iron Dome air defense system in the war in Gaza to account for maneuverable drones, one of its biggest blind spots. European governments embarking on their largest rearmament since the Cold War have identified drones and counter-drone systems as an investment priority. The US Pentagon, which pioneered sophisticated and expensive drones sourced from big arms contractors, is looking to buy cheaper ones designed by startups and deployed en masse. From the Bloomberg publication.
The Kremlin reacted to Ukraine's attacks in a reserved manner. Officials said that Putin watched the bombers burn in real time and is now awaiting the results of an investigation. Meanwhile, White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt simply stated that the US wants the war, launched by Russia against Ukraine, to end as soon as possible through diplomatic means. Reported by Victoria Smirnova, UATV News.
Well, that seems to be it for today. My name is Nikin. UATV English was online. Thank you so very much for watching this episode. Your subscription is very important to us as Ukraine is craving the same values we hope very much you are. Freedom and sovereignty. It was News Pulse. Stay tuned for more and see you at the next beat. Goodbye.